Hello friends, welcome. Friends, today we are going to discuss a very important topic which every data analyst or a data scientist is undertaking on a regular basis, which is ensuring fidelity of their data. So what do I mean by fidelity of the data? When you are either preparing data yourself by using any kind of software or PDF to Excel conversion, it might happen that your data may get loaded with lot of impurities, and those impurities will become hard to detect because it is sometimes not in your control, the raw data that you get. So today I am going to discuss one of the impurities which you will encounter in a database, how to deal with that. That is one of the aspect of data preparation we are going to talk today, and then subsequently in many other videos we are going to talk about other dimension of how to ensure fidelity of your data. So what I've done is I've taken the TRAI's subscriber information which they publish on a monthly basis. So I keep aggregating this data, but I find it very difficult to aggregate this data because this is in PDF form, and then converting this into this form which you see here, which has got 5 columns, very clean form, date, circle, category, operators and subscriber, is a Herculean task, and there is always an opportunity of errors. So what kind of errors? It may happen that some of the entries, right, may get duplicated. Because when you are adding data, it may happen that some of the entries may get duplicated and get populated with entries which are completely illegal in nature. Let me explain what I mean. So I showed you the pure data, right? The data with the highest fidelity. Now I am going to show you the copy of the same data with impurities. So I have deliberately introduced these impurities, and I'm going to show you how these impurities look like, so that you understand that how these can be. We will make an attempt to remove this impurity using a software code which I have written. So what are these impurities? Let me explain. So if you look at this data, you will find that there are certain rows which I have highlighted with yellow, right? Can you see it? So if you look at this row with an index number 705 is the row which actually contains the actual data. You see it? Now what I've done is that I have deliberately added these 5 rows, and added certain dummy data. So what I've done, I've repeated these 3 columns. And if you see that these rows actually have a repetition of these 3 columns, the dates are all same, but the values are different here, and these values are completely haywire, right? Similarly, I have created some more such entries down below. If you see here for AP Bharti, so the actual entry is on the row here, which is 388080, but I have added certain more entries which are completely illegal in nature. Similarly, there is one more entry which I have added down below for year 2021. So yeah, which is marked here, where you will find that these entries have been added which are completely illegal. Now, how do you remove these entries, right, without doing some manual intervention? Because manual intervention is a very inefficient thing to do. It kind of makes you completely hopeless, and you can't execute your task with efficiency, and you cannot do multiple processing and analysis simultaneously, which is the need of the day, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that. So for that, what I have done is I have created a program, and I have identified the various steps. Now, anybody who is interested in this particular code, they can, because this is not a very big deal. When I show you, you can just simply read this code and you can do it yourself, because understanding the code is very important rather than memorizing it. Okay, so that's the whole purpose. So there are steps which I have marked, and I'm going to individually run this step to show you how this whole thing will get executed. The first step is very simple. I am just importing the libraries, and then I am just changing the directory where the main file is located. So the file with impurities have been marked as test1, and the file without impurities has been marked as test. So I'm going to use load the file which is loaded with impurities which I have deliberately introduced. So I'm going to run this cell, and I'm going to show you how this data frame looks like. So this is how the data frame looks like. This has got how many rows? 1728 rows, right? But the file which is without impurities has got 1716. So there are some additional rows which I have added deliberately. Now, what is the first step? The first step is to identify those rows which are illegal in nature, which you are confusing in nature, which you don't know which of the values to pick. So for that, what I have done is I am doing a group by function, and the group by function is very simple, right? So what it does is it basically identifies. Let me just show you how this particular thing looks. So when you're doing a group by, what you're doing, let's understand the group by, how it works. You are taking the columns which you want the data to be grouped by. Means those columns will become unique in the data frame, right? And then what you're doing is that you're running a function called n-unique, means not unique, on that group by data frame. Suppose, let's say if I remove this, let me just show you how this is going to look like. So this is going to be a Pandas core group by generic data structure. So if I run subscriber n unique, and I just remove this for the time being, right? And you'll see how it looks like. So you will get what? You will get a column, right, which will contain 1, 2, 3, 4, depending upon how many times that particular index is getting repeated, right? So this is the index, the date, circle, category, and operator. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to basically reset this, and then I'm going to store this in this data frame, and I'm going to show you how this finally is going to look like. So when I store it in this data frame, this is going to look like this, right? So what I have a data frame called mark_df, where I'm marking those rows which are having illegal entries, right? So if I do a set on this, before I do is I'll basically I take the column subscribers, and then on the subscriber, what I'm going to do set, right? So what the set will do, it will uniquely take those columns which have different entries, right? So there are different rows which have got 1 as an entry, because most of them are unique rows. There are, as I showed you, there are 3 blocks. One was having 4 rows, another was having 5 rows, another was having 6 rows. It's clear from this that this has got these many numbers. Now let's do the next step. What is the next step? The next step is a simple filter. Filter is what? I'm going to show you what I basically mean by filter. So filter is a very powerful thing which you do in when you are doing data processing. So here, since you know that there is 1, 3, 4, 6 entries here, type of entries here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply say greater than 1. So greater than 1 will give me a true and false. So when I run this greater than 1, I'll say false, because most of the time it is not greater than 1. That's why you see false here, right? But there will be certain true statements here, right? So if I basically use this and run this as mark data frame and do a filtering on the overall data frame, you will find that those columns, those rows will get extracted with multiple entries, which is 3 blocks, which I showed you in the beginning itself. This is exactly what is happening. So just to make sure that we are not going to get confused here, so I'm going to run the complete thing, and I'm going to store in a data frame called marks extracted df. This is the step 2. So I'm going to store it here. Right. So now this marked extracted data frame looks like something like this, right? You see? It looks like this. So what I've done is I just converted the columns as index, which will help me in processing the data later, and you'll know how. Then step 3 is that the main raw data frame, I'm adding one column here, and you will know what that column will do later, because that is very important. And let me tell you exactly what I am going to do, because the entries on those rows are of arbitrary nature. I really don't know which of those values are accurate. Now I have to create certain metric in order to understand which value is accurate and which value is not accurate. So for you to create a metric, it is better to take a yearly average of the subscriber for that index. So for that, I have to add a year column. So what I'm doing is I'm simply running a list comprehension. So I'm going to show you how the year column can get added up. So I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to just remove this for the time being. And then I'm running a list comprehension. So the date column in the data frame, the raw data frame, and then I'm extracting the year here. It's very simple. For x.year, for x in df.date. So when I run this, you'll find that there will be year will get extracted out. So I'm going to just clear this output, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just store this in a column called year, and then I'm going to set index. So now this data frame, the raw data frame, will look something like this, with an year column, additional year column, which you will find here, right? So this is the This is the step 3. Now what is the step 4? Now the step 4 is that I have to now, all those marked, you already marking was done. If you see that this data frame was already marked, the marked extracted data frame, right? Let me just create one more cell here so that everything is flows smoothly. So this is how this looked, right? Now what I'm doing is, in the next step, what my main objective is that the main raw data frame which I've already created, I am just doing a loc operation on the data frame and then extracting the illegal blocks from the main raw data frame and separating it out. That's what I'm doing. For that, I need to get the index. And from where I'm going to get the index? The index I'm going to get from marked extracted data frame, because marked extracted data frame has these index, because these indexes are now uniquely identified. So what I'm doing is, I am just running this index, right, on the raw data frame which I've just processed. You see, the raw data frame looks like this. See? These are the index, because that's why I processed it like this, right? So if I now, in the same raw data frame, if I am going to do this, if see, df.log marked df.index, which is nothing but these index. I'm going to show you what basically it is going to do. So this is the index, right? I'm just going to run here index. See, these are the index. So what I'm doing is that I'm just taking this index values and putting it here and doing a loc operation and with all columns. So this is how it is going to look like. Right, so this is how it. So now the illegal part of the data frame is extracted out here, which I'm going to store here as illegal df, because now I know exactly those rows which are illegal in nature, which I have to work and process and finally identified out of these subscriber values which one is correct value and which one is not, right? So I'm going to store it here. So after having stored this here, what is the next step now? Now I have to extract out this illegal data block from the main raw data frame and clean it up. Why I'm doing so? Because when I'm going to calculate the yearly averages, if I include this illegal block here, let me show you how the illegal block looks. The subscriber numbers, some of the subscriber numbers are huge. And if you are going to create an yearly average using these subscriber numbers, your yearly average numbers are going to go out of the window, right? So you have to remove this. All the illegal entries have to be removed, and then only you should create the baseline metric for comparing, so as to identify which of the subscriber is the correct subscriber and which of the correct subscriber is not the correct subscriber, right? So that is the reason I am basically doing what? I am basically now extracting the illegal DF, and then I am removing extracting the where was we, right? So removing the illegal values from the main raw data frame. So this is what I am doing, right? So I am going to run this, and I am going to run here, and it's very simple. It's not very difficult. So I'm just using the index and then doing a drop. Simple drop, because the main data frame includes all the index. I'm just taking the illegal data frame index and doing a drop and creating a data frame without any illegals. So this is how the main data frame now will look like, right? This is how it looks like. So the number of rows have now decreased, which has become 1713, because there were 3 blocks, right? I'm going to show you that so if there was 1716, now 3 rows are going to, 3 indexes are going to go less. So it is 1713, right? That is how it has become. Now after having done that, now I have to calculate the yearly averages, right? And setting the index of the main data frame without illegal, right? So it's a very simple, because since the data frame doesn't have any illegal values, so I'm going to do first reset index, and then I'm basically going to create an yearly column, right? So if you see here, I'm going to run this here, and if I run this, you will find that resetting the index, and then the data frame will look like this. So I have got all the columns, and then I have got a year column here, because I have to do some averaging. For that I need the year column, right? So then what I'm doing is, I am now calculating the average, which is a group by function. Very simple group by function. So if I run this here, you will find that I'm just going to do Control V, and I'm going to remove this so that you look like how it looks. So if I run this, you will find that these are the averages now. So I'm doing a group by on the index, and then on the subscriber I'm doing mean, and then doing rounding, and then convert into main, right? So I'm going to store this here. So I'm going to store this here, which is called yearly average DF, right? Now, after having done that, this was the 6th step. Now, the 7th step is that prepare the illegal data frame. If you remember the illegal data frame, how the illegal data frame look like, the block of the illegal data frame. So this was the block which we extracted out from the raw data frames. Now to prepare this data frame. Now prepare the data frame for extracting, because this data, if you look at this data has got the subscriber numbers, but I have to add one more column of the averages so that I can do the comparison. So for that I have to prepare the data. So what I am doing is I am resetting it. I am adding a year column, right? The year column is already added, maybe that step was redundant. And then what I am doing is I am basically setting the index of circle, category, operator and year and date, right? So if I just run all these steps, if I run all these steps here and control V, and then when I show you that how this data frame is going to look like now, control Z, and then I am going to just see control C, control V. This is how the data frame is going to look like. So I have got circle, category, operator, year, date and the subscriber numbers, right? So this data frame is now with all the information, and on this I am going to add the yearly averages for processing. So now what I am doing is extracting the yearly averages of the subscriber numbers for mapping with the illegal. As I told you, I have to map with the illegal data frame. So I am now doing what? I am basically using the same index, doing a loc operation and then dropping duplicates, and you will see that this is because I know the index, right? Indexes are all no. So I am creating a data frame which I am basically going to use for merging with this. So this is how the average data frame look like now. See, there are, what is that? We now have the averages. These are the averages, right? The subscriber which I am going to add here so that I can make the comparison, right? So once this is done, then what I'm doing, I'm going to do a merge with, as I told you, I have to merge it, and then I am going to merge on what? Circle, category, operators and year, right? See, circle, category, operators and year, and then I'm adding some suffix so that to identify what happened after the merge, right? So if I just take this and run this here, you'll see. So let me just run this here. See. Now what has happened? So these subscribers, these are subscriber yearly average data frames. These are the averages, and these are the actual data, subscriber data, right? Sorry, actually this is the other way around. It has become other way around because these are the averages, these are the actual subscribers. Anyway, doesn't matter, but it will serve the same purpose, right? But anyway, so let's come back to the point. So let me just run this complete cell so that with all the processing. So here you will find, if I do the full processing here, let me just do the processing here, just a minute, control V's, and then I do. So now you have the merge data frame. The merge data frame looks like something like this. See, the merge data frame is looking like this. We have got the indexes, the circle, category, operators here, and then there are two different values which we can compare, though the naming has become a little bit distorted, which is not a problem because it doesn't matter, right? And then we have the date information attached to it. Now after doing this, now we have to calculate the multiple, because how many multiple times this value is different. So if you divide this by this, you will get the multiple. That will become an indicator as to which of the values which you should ignore and which of the value you should basically use. So what I am doing is that I am creating a multiple, right? So multiple, how I am creating? I am simply using a vector operation here. So the same data frame which you saw here, I am going to run this here so that it becomes very clear. So I'll remove this also, and then what I'm doing, I'm just dividing this by this, right? So when I divide this by this is how this data frame will look like. You see, this is how it looks like, right? And then since I just want to make sure that I don't have to spend time in typing, so I create another column called multiple, right? So now the data frame is going to look like something like this. Control C, Control V. Here is the column. So I have the multiple column here, right? So once the multiples column has been created, now it becomes very easy. I can do a filtering very simple. Simply if I can do a filtering. So what I'm doing is, okay, before that I'm doing some rounding off work because this is not looking very good, right? Because these are all exponential. So what I'm doing is, it's a very simple thing to do. It's nothing much. I'm just making this look like a little bit more, proper, so that it is readable. So you see that these multiples are so high, it can be very easily filtered out. Some of the multiples are very close to the averages, which we can very easily understand and work with. So once having done that, what we're doing, I'm doing a final filtering, and the filtering is very simple. So what I'm doing is that I'm using two different filters and an AND operator here. So I'm saying if it is less than 1.05 and it is greater than 0.9. So values of the multiple should be between 1.05 and 0.9, and I'm using filtering with that. You can choose whatever you want, right? So depending upon your values which might have gone haywire, you can just it is a hard coded. You can put a parameter here and change it. So once having done that, so if I run this, and I'm going to show you how it is going to look like. So this is now the final data frame looks like, right? Merge data frame will look like. So you'll find that everything has been removed now. You see, now all the correct entries have now been extracted out. So once this correct entries have been extracted out, I am simply doing a simple processing and renaming the columns, right? And this is not a very rocket science. So now we have the data frame renamed. So, sorry, I think I have not named here. That is the problem. Let me just run this as a block. Otherwise, everything goes for a toss. So, let me run this as a block. And then after having run this as a block, and then I take this Control C, and then I just run this here, Control V, and now you will have, just a minute, there is a problem here. This always happens. Let me just, so what happened was that since I actually was doing it some of the cells got run in earlier, so that's why I rerun the cell from the beginning itself, so that there is no confusion. So now we have the merged data frame, which looks like this, right? So now after having the merged data frame, which has now got the subscriber number, the date number, the operator number, etc., everything is here. Now what I am going to do now, I am going to basically create a data frame without any illegals, right? Let me just see. I think this subscriber this column has not been renamed, so I have to basically rename. Let me do it manually here, so that there is no problem. Subscriber, so rename columns is equal to open a dictionary, Control C, Control V, and then I am going to rename this as subscriber, because without this column name as subscriber, the merger is not going to happen, right? So now I have got this number renamed, and then I'm going to say Control V, and then I'm going to store it here. So now we have a data frame which is pure and clean, right? So now everything is fine. After having done that, what I do, I now combine this data frame with illegals, right? So the main data frame which I removed. So I just simply run this. I run this complete block. When I run this complete block, you see how it's going to look like. So Control V. So we have got DF without illegals, which I'm dropping the year column, because I don't want the year column to basically disturb us, because I have the index columns are clearly identified: circle, category, operator, subscriber, date, right? And then I am concatting and creating a merge data frame. So let's do step by step. Let me just show you how this DF without column looks like, so that there is no confusion. So you'll find that there is an year column, so which I have to remove, otherwise this concatenation is not going to happen. So therefore I am running this first step here. After that I am just doing a simple concatenation, right? So let me just remove this, and I run this here, and you'll find that the data frame is now completely, it is 1716. Same here, 1716. You see? So now you have a simple data frame which has been completely cleaned of illegal values, and you have used the logic. See, there could be some external tools which are available for you to do these kind of work, but I prefer to do it on my own, because I have got full control over it, right? Because there could be some situation which may not have been visualized outside. If you do not understand this process, the way this process works, you will not be able to deal with difficult situation. Even ChatGPT is not going to help you. You can take help of ChatGPT, but it's not going to tell you what to do exactly. you have to visualize yourself, what are the steps that you have to undertake in order to clean it efficiently. Now this is the original data frame. Now what you do is that you simply store this data frame in the file to CSV, right? And then to CSV, and then I'm going to name it as any file cleaned. So it's a cleaned CSV, right? And then I'm say index is equal to false. So I am going to just simply store this here. I am going to show you how the data frame is going to look like. So this is the data frame, the clean data frame which has come here. Let me just show you here, 1 minute. Yeah, this is the data frame. So I'm going to just open it and show it to you how it looks. What happened? Let me open it later here and bring it back. Because when so many files, here it is. So when so many, this is how it looks. So the same data frame which has got the same number of columns and everything is now cleaned, and this is the first step, very important step for preparation of data. There could be many other nulls and many things which you have to deal with. If these values were not so different, right, I would have used a simple group by and create an average, right? That would have been much more efficient. But since these values were so different, group by and simple average would have distorted the value completely, and therefore I had to use this kind of preparation work for the data frame. So friends, hope I found this you found this video useful. And if you have any further comments, let me know. And as I venture out in this process of data processing, I discover new things which I find it very interesting, and I would like to share with you, right? Because these things, though it very simple, but if you do not do step by step and accurately, these things will not become robust. It will not going to work under every circumstances. So you have to keep learning yourself and become proficient in working with data. Then only all the output that you create, because you may write an article, you may do a graph, those things are going to be sacrosanct and very, very accurate. Otherwise, you have to deal with, you have to basically depend on other people who are going to do the work for you. So thank you very much, friends, for your time. I'll come back to you with a new video next time. Thank you very much.